Introducing Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio.
Got my first real six-string.
Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
Join me for an insider look on a wild ride through 40 years of global rock and roll.
Bryan Adams Radio. Now available on the free iHeartRadio app. Or ask your smart speaker to play Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio.
Who's ready to rock?
Kids wanna rock.
Not sure what to get the young people on your list? The latest phone, sneakers, video games? Get the one thing they need now more than ever. Give their feelings a place to go. When you donate to Kids Help Phone, you're giving the young people in your life and across the country access to free 24/7 judgment-free support. Because at the end of the day, it's their thoughts that count. Donate at kidshelpphone.ca. And together, we can give their feelings a place to go.
This week in gaming with Naomi Kyle.
Hey guys, I'm Naomi Kyle and welcome back to This Week in Gaming. This week we're unpacking Ubisoft's XDefiant closure, BioWare's gift to Dragon Age fans, a new report on how gamers spend their time, and Game Award announcements and winner predictions. We've got all of this week's gaming news. Let's hop right in. Last week, Ubisoft announced that they would be officially discontinuing their free-to-play arena shooter XDefiant in 2025. The reason for the shutdown is reportedly due to the shooter's inability to attract and retain enough players to compete at the level Ubisoft was hoping for. Consequently, Ubisoft shut down their production studios in San Francisco and Osaka, resulting in a layoff of over 270 employees. XDefiant's executive producer Mark Rubin shared a message with the game's player base regarding the next steps towards discontinuing the service. It reads, starting December 3rd, 2024, new downloads and player registrations will no longer be available. We will still release our Season 3 content in the near future, and the servers will remain active until June 3rd, 2025. For those who purchased the Ultimate Founders Pack, you'll receive a full refund. Players who made any purchases within the last 30 days will also be fully refunded. Those refunds should happen automatically within 8 weeks. To our players, thank you. From the bottom of our heart, I want to express my deepest gratitude for the incredible community that has grown around XDefiant. Your passion, creativity, and dedication have inspired us every step of the way. The year 2024 has not been kind to Ubisoft. Their first game of the year, Skull and Bones, was widely panned. The Star Wars Outlaws launch suffered from a poorly implemented early access, and Assassin's Creed Shadows was delayed until February to avoid a redo of Star Wars Outlaws. So it looks like Ubisoft has a lot to work on come the new year. Dragon Age: The Veilguard's in-game character creators saw gamers spend hours, even days, tweaking the look of their characters down to the tiniest detail, just so their player character looked just right. Well, now fans can spend even more time perfecting Rook, the main protagonist in the Veilguard, as BioWare is releasing that portion of the game, and only that portion of it, as a free standalone app. Part of their celebration of Dragon Age Day, the app is available on all platforms and allows players to craft their custom Rook without purchasing the full game. The creations can then be imported into the main game later. So you can spend your time working on your character while riding the subway on your way to work every day, and then drop it into the game whenever you want. Now, that's pretty cool. Alongside the standalone app, Dragon Age: The Veilguard received its fourth major patch. Players can now equip their Rook with the iconic hawk armor from Dragon Age 2, and there are 2 new Qunari complexions that were added among many, many other fixes. So definitely take advantage of the new update if you're still working your way through the game, or if you're still finding the right height for Rook's eyebrows, as I am. A new 17-page study from Media Research has just revealed a surprising shift in gaming habits. Players are now spending more time watching gaming videos than actually playing them. According to the study, which surveyed players from 9 different countries, including the US, United Kingdom, and South Korea, the average gamer dedicates nearly 16 hours a week to their hobby. However, only 7.4 of those hours are spent playing games. while 8.5 hours are devoted to watching gaming content on platforms like Twitch, YouTube, and social media. So how could game publishers take advantage of this growing trend? Well, one idea being thrown around is suggesting that game publishers should look into launching their own platforms for gaming videos and user-made content. Whether that's actually feasible when platform giants like YouTube and Twitch are around is another story. As for aspiring content creators and streamers looking to break into the industry, this study gives you even more reason to do it. Elden Ring took the world by storm when it released back in 2022, and ever since then, fans have been waiting for any news regarding a sequel. Well, the news is here, and it might be a little disappointing. FromSoftware officially confirmed that a sequel to Elden Ring is not currently being worked on at the studio. Instead, FromSoftware is focusing on a diverse slate of new projects. The news was revealed in a recent roundtable interview with director Hidetaka Miyazaki. However, he clarified that while the team isn't considering an Elden Ring follow-up at this time, it hasn't ruled out the potential of the IP. The studio is currently channeling its efforts into multiple projects spanning a variety of genres, some directed by Miyazaki himself. So while the studio looks to different pastures, we'll just have to make do with the game's current award-nominated DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, for now. Not a bad way to pass the time, if you ask me. If you're in the mood to jump into some nostalgic fun this week, then listen up. Sony is celebrating the 30th anniversary of PlayStation with a nostalgic update for the PS5 that brings back the iconic PlayStation 1 boot-up screen. You know the one. Just turn on your PlayStation 5, go to the recent notifications, hit the new feature update, and then restart your console to be greeted by the classic startup sequence of the PS1, followed by a 30th anniversary logo. As the home screen loads, you can also choose to customize your console's design and sound effects, selecting themes inspired by the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 3, or the PlayStation 4. For those who prefer a modern touch, the option to stick with the standard PS5 layout remains available. In Sony's announcement about the new feature, the company clarified that these anniversary features are available only for a limited time, sadly. But as you would expect, gamers are speaking up. Yes, gamers love the feature so much that they started an online petition to get Sony to make the themes and boot-up screen permanent. The petition currently stands at nearly 4,000 signatures strong, and Sony has yet to respond. Personally, I hope it does become a permanent feature. It seems like a no-brainer. But for now, we'll just have to see what Sony decides. Fast food titan Kentucky Fried Chicken has long believed in the power of advertising through video games. Back in 2006, they released 3 games for the Xbox 360. Then in 2020, KFC announced the KF console that cooked chicken while you gamed. Now KFC is introducing their latest video game endeavor they're calling the Veilguard. The Veilguard is only available in Spain and harkens back to the digital pet craze of the late 90s, popularized by the Tomagatchis. Yes, instead of caring for an animal, players can now nurture a virtual chicken drumstick named Eduardo. The entire stunt is inspired by a 2021 viral meme. The device is shaped just like a fried chicken drumstick and lets users feed, clean, and grow their fried drumstick. Initially launched at a pop-up chicken store in Madrid, the Veilguard is now sold with the purchase of a meal at KFC locations across Spain for €3.99 or about $5.96 Canadian. This limited time novelty is the latest in KFC's playful gaming-related stunts, which have ranged from a Colonel Sanders dating sim to discussions of adding the Colonel as a guest fighter in Tekken, which I still think should eventually happen. Make it happen, KFC.
Games out this week.
Now, let's go over the video games releasing this week. On December 9th, Among Ashes sets fire to PS5 and PC. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle cracks the whip on PC and Xbox Series X and S, and it releases day one on Xbox Game Pass. On December 10th, Voyen, Astromedica, and Urban Strife land exclusively on PC. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind and Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2 are reborn on all platforms. Fairy Tail 2 teleports onto the PS4, PS5, PC, and Nintendo Switch. Then on December 12th, Kletka and the Spirit of the Samurai fight their way onto PC. And finally, on December 13th, Bronana, The Cabin Factory, and Meat 2 Absolute Zero crashes the party on PC.
Quest complete.
So that's the news for this week. It's now time to chat with our guest. Trisha Hershberger joins us to chat about our Game Awards announcement and winner predictions, and how gaming is changing with this new generation of gamers.
Select game mode. Multiplayer.
Trisha, welcome back to the show. So happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Naomi. Always a delight.
Yeah, it's amazing that we're getting to meet up for this, because for many years we've each gone to the Game Awards. It's the 10-year anniversary, so it's kind of a big deal this year. So I wanted to talk to you about just your predictions, what you think you hope to see, just all that good stuff. Are you ready for the Game Awards this year? How are you feeling?
I am ready to watch it. I hear that there's going to be some pretty epic music performances, and my plan is to watch it on Twitch with my community. I learned a couple years ago that going to see it in person just means that I have to keep all my thoughts to myself during the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not so good at that. So I'll be watching it on Twitch with my community, but I'm excited to see what's in store.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to see who wins. Do you have any predictions on who the big winners will be, like game-wise? I know there's a couple games that are super just nominated across the board, but are there any that you particularly hope will win big?
I mean, I was really excited to see that Balatro from the indie team Local Thunk got so much recognition. Just like you said, nominated kind of across the board, which is great. And whenever I see an indie game like that get highlighted, that gets me excited. I also am really stoked to see kind of what was so unusual about Astrobot.
Yeah.
Get some love. And Astrobot's your favorite for the Game Awards, isn't it, Naomi?
Yeah, it's the one I almost 100%ed. That last level was a little daunting, but it was the game that like just hooked me from the start, and I powered through it. I finished it in like a week, and yeah, it's nominated a lot this year, which I'm very happy to see. And I think like for a 10-year anniversary of the Game Awards, it's like the perfect game because it encompasses all the PlayStation IP and like all the years of amazing Sony games that we've had. So that's my hope for like win big, but I have a feeling it might not win Game of the Year. So that's just where I'm standing.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. I feel like Game of the Year traditionally goes to something that's a little bigger, a little more AAA, a little more commercially.
Yeah.
Like a little more talked about generally by the gaming community at large, where I feel like something like Astrobot can be a little bit more niche. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I think Astrobot, especially what they did with the DualSense controller and the haptics and the DualSense and the sounds, and just so innovative that I would love to see that get recognized. But in terms of like who will actually probably win, I think maybe one of the larger AAAs like Shadow of the Erdtree or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I'm like 70 plus hours in and still nowhere close to being finished. That game, it's just massive. But I'm a lifelong Final Fantasy fan, and particularly Final Fantasy VII fan, which I mean, who isn't? And so it would be fun if that got recognized too. And then I know the whole like Black Myth Wukong community is coming in big. And I didn't play Metaphor ReFantazio, but I've heard delightful things. Did you get a chance to play it?
Nope, still haven't played it, but I keep hearing from everyone I interview practically on the show talking about it. So yeah, I think it is a contender for winning Game of the Year, at least.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see what happens. I honestly have no idea, but in terms of like what I would love to see win, I would love to see it go to Balatro or Astrobot, because both of those incorporated things in their game that I had not seen before.
Yeah.
And I always love seeing innovation highlighted.
It'd be good to see. Do you have any announcements? So, Jeff Keighley, when he puts on this award every year, it's all about the world premieres and the announcements and stuff like that. Anything that you would love to see, maybe see more footage of or get an official trailer for or anything like that?
My guess is that we'll probably see more of Dune Awakening.
Oh, yeah.
And that's been something that I've kind of been following the development process of just as a Dune fan. And so I think we'll get to see some more of that. I've also been hearing rumblings online of maybe some more God of War, like a DLC or something like that we'll get to see. So who knows if that's true? I think that's just kind of the buzz online. But yes, as you mentioned, Jeff always kind of makes this a hybrid announcement show with also some awards.
Award show. Yeah.
So it's you know, you have to look forward to both things. And it's an interesting play because I know that there are some viewers who just tune in for the announcements and some viewers who just tune in for the awards. And so you're kind of covering both bases.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm hoping for, I don't know, there's Gears of War stuff, perhaps. There's Max Payne. I'm sure we'll see maybe something from the Wolverine game, perhaps.
Ooh,
I don't know.
I love that.
These are just shots in the dark because you never know with Jeff, like what he's going to bring. But yeah. So I wanted to touch a little bit on why the Game Awards. It's been 10 years now. It started back in 2014 in Las Vegas, and now it's grown so much since then over the 10 years. Why do you think this Game Awards show is important for the industry?
I do think that the industry is looking for something like this, right? Like video games are such an amazingly popular art form right now within pop culture. And we have the Grammys for music, and we have the Oscars for movies, and we have the Emmys for TV. And like, what do we have that's not just for industry members to honor video games? And so I think that there is this hole there, but I do think that the games industry is still figuring it out, as you and I were talking about. Is it an announcement show? Is it just an awards show? Like, what does it need to be? Because video games are inherently different than these other mediums. Yeah. So how do we make it feel specifically gaming? And we are 10 years in, or Jeff is 10 years in. Before this, it was the VGAs that were trying to do it, right? Yeah. And like we saw that kind of come and go. And I think when the hole was left by the VGAs, Jeff picked it up, which is awesome. But I don't know that anyone has been like, yes, this is it just yet. I think it's still growing, but 10 years is a massive achievement, certainly. And, you know, I hope that it continues to evolve from here and doesn't go the way of the VGAs or E3 or some of the other big video game in-person events that we've seen come and then sunset.
Well, and I think it will all come down to, as kids grow up as gamers, this is kind of leading into my next question, which is, how has gaming evolved that you've seen? Because you have a kid as well. Do you think that gaming will look the same in 10 years? You know, as kids grow, as they are familiar or consider themselves gamers, that they're going to enter the industry at a certain point, and it's going to continue to grow it even further. And so my question to you is, how have you seen it change for kids growing up with gaming?
Oh my goodness. I feel like in our time, Naomi, it has evolved so much, right? Like for me, like I'm a child of the 80s, right? And so I was part of the first generation that had video games in the home, right? And so now that those kids that grew up with an Atari or an NES, or a Super NES or a Sega Genesis, now that those kids are having kids of their own and are adults who are working in games, I feel like that has led us to some really beautiful new types of stories being told, different types of games being created, and things like the Game Awards, where it's like we are now adults who have lived our whole lives loving video games. How can we celebrate this in a way that's just as respected by, you know, a community and society at large? And so I do think that it will only continue to grow. You know, like we knew, oh man, hopefully this Christmas, like if I keep all my fingers and toes crossed, maybe Santa will bring me the one console that I really want, right? And I feel like a lot of today's kids, because there's so many free-to-play games, there's games that are available on mobile, like games are just kind of everywhere now as they're growing up, that's only going to increase. Now, maybe the types of games and the way they play them will change, which will change how they want to do any kind of big industry events like an award show or something. I don't know. Like then you could get into a whole discussion of, what does AI mean for games moving forward? What does immersiveness mean for games moving forwards? Like, will they all be AR games built into our AR glasses?
Right.
In 10 years? Like, we just have no idea, but I'm certainly excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, Me too. I'm so excited. I feel like there's another boom happening. Like we haven't even hit the peak yet of like the level at which
for sure.
games have taken over.
For sure. Every year my socks get knocked off a little more than the year prior. So I'm stoked to see where it goes. It's really lovely to be able to share games with the next generation. My son has recently gotten into Vampire Survivors.
Oh, nice.
Great game. But it's a game that our whole family can sit down and play together. And it only takes about a half hour per gaming session. So it's very accessible. And, you know, anyone can kind of pick it up and play it. And so there's a lot of things like that are now becoming family memories that he'll have to grow up with and maybe share something like that, but evolved with his children if he ever has them, you know, like it's just, it's cool to see it grow.
Yeah, it totally is. Well, I always find it so lovely when you come on the show. You always have such great perspective, and thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope you have an amazing time at the Game Awards. Have you got your outfit picked out?
I think so. I don't know. I'm still going back and forth. I have 2 dresses. It's going to be one of 2 dresses.
Lovely.
And then it's going to be the watch party. So if you find yourself on the day looking for something to do, you know you are welcome to come watch it with me in the community.
Amazing. I'll try to see if I could stop by.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Trisha. Have a good one.
Adore you. Bye.
Bye. Trisha Hershberger is a TV host and creator in gaming and tech. You can follow her on Twitter at ThatGirlTrish.
Flawless victory! Continue!
And that's This Week in Gaming. I'm your host, Naomi Kyle. I had such an amazing time bringing you the news this week. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much to my co-writer, Josh Seaman. And don't forget to let me know what you're playing and what you think about these stories by tagging me at Naomi Kyle on social. From all of us here at This Week in Gaming, we wish you a fun-filled week, and we'll see you same time, same place. See you later.
This Week in Gaming is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app for more podcasts just like these.
Introducing Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio.
Got my first real 6-string.
Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
Join me for an insider look on a wild ride through 40 years of global rock and roll.
Bryan Adams Radio. Now available on the free iHeartRadio app. Or ask your smart speaker to play Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio.
Who's ready to rock?
Everywhere I go, kids wanna rock.